This video is sponsored by SkinSilo. SkinSilo is a rewards-based service where you can earn PUBG and CSGO skins by watching videos, using apps, and completing other tasks that will earn you points towards a vast array of in-game items. The SkinSilo app is available on the App Store and on Google Play, or you can use their website to keep earning wherever you are. Check out the link in the description and use the referral code MOSES to earn your first 250 credits. SkinSilo, a rewards-based service, not a euphemism for dicks. Hey y'all, Moses here. Today I'm going to be discussing the top 5 upcoming changes for the October patch. So let's jump right in. Number 5 is weapon changes. Now, we've seen some of these changes come into the game, specifically the AK having its recoil altered, and the Vector is still kind of in a weird spot, but since the AK had its recoil changed, it's definitely fallen down the list for me in terms of what I would consider to be my first choice for an AR. Whereas before the AK was a good alternative to the 5.56, you had to trade off with the high recoil, but it was still very, very usable and still relatively powerful as well, considering its low bullet velocity beyond medium range. The first shot recoil is in a really tough spot. So the Vector, again, I would still like to see it tweaked a little bit. I don't need it to go back to where it was when it first came out, which was like God tier. But the horizontal spread and maybe a slight uptick to the bullet velocity might be good. So the Mini 14. This is not really a point of contention. I don't think the Mini is like super overpowered, but the one thing it has done is make the SKS completely irrelevant. So it's definitely the go-to DMR for me. It has excellent control, great velocity. It's a really, really fun little gun. But the SKS is, again, all these weapons are definitely usable and they are all decent, but the SKS compared to the Mini is unreliable, at least for me. And because of that, I would like to see the SKS have some change done to it, or maybe the Mini be slightly changed as well. Either making the Mini slightly worse or making the SKS slightly better to bring them to some level of parity. The SKS obviously having the higher damage value is a big reason why maybe it is the way it is, which is totally fine because ultimately, the SKS is definitely more powerful. But looking at a level 3 enemy or even, anyone else, level 2, fine. It could take 3 to 4 shots to kill an enemy with the SKS. And it takes 5 with the Mini. So I know I can hit 5 reliable shots with the Mini almost with my eyes closed. But the SKS, that unreliable kick, can make it difficult. So I would like to see some changes there. The grenades, the changes were awesome. I'm really happy with what they did the last patch. But some of the stuff is still a little bit buggy. I would like to see the smokes see a little bit of tweaking or bug fixing because they're not unreliable, but the way they work in the game right now kind of makes it a little dangerous to use them. People can see through smoke. Sometimes they don't spawn smoke at all. I've seen lots of examples of that. And even the pathing of the grenades is still a little touchy. That might be a deeper issue than just the grenades themselves. It might be a physics thing, but I think there's some bug fixing required there. So the next thing, optimization. So optimization is a big word and a big point of contention in the community right now. Both client and server. So we're hitting concurrent player numbers above 2 million. Not regularly, but pretty damn close a lot of the time, especially on the weekends. They're continually setting records, and I don't think there's enough servers in the world that would allow for this kind of load to be handled adequately. Yes, servers scale. Yes, they are doing the best they can from a hardware perspective. I know, at least with Amazon hosting, that they've said in the past that they're maxing it out. But the one thing that's really limiting here that I think a lot of players don't seem to, a lot of people don't seem to understand is that it's about data in the game. So having an amount of servers is one thing, but looking at what's happening in the game is really what's causing that lag and desync. So you got to just look at any time you drop in the school when there's 20 other people there, the server just crawls because there's so much activity. It just can't reconcile what's happening based on, I think, a computational level, maybe CPU. I have no idea, but the server itself in its current state just can't handle it. So they have released a test server patch recently, a 1 GB test server patch. Now there's 2 options there, and they're not really close together. It might be a slight optimization pass to see if there's something that they've changed that might make that load a little bit more bearable. Or it could be player decals for IEM Oakland. we might start seeing C9 and noble decals everywhere. Because I know the last time we saw that size of a patch, it was just those decals coming into the game. So I think that client optimization obviously still a big thing. The rate is not as high as some players would like to see. But the optimization patch is almost now critical because of the amount of players playing. There's 2 million. It's unprecedented. I know it's a really, really frustrating thing to continue to experience. But the third one is the sound engine. Now, this is probably one of the most frequent complaints compared to optimization that I see. There has been no real indicator that we'll expect to see this soon, other than the fact that the devs have said in AMAs and other spots that they're working on it. The one thing that's really tough with the sound engine is that unlike adding a new weapon to the game or optimization, you don't really understand, or I don't really understand, the wide-ranging effects it could have on how the game is played. If they start tweaking or changing things without really trying to, take the time to test it out, we might have issues where we have no idea where sounds are coming from anymore, or things might be too quiet or too loud, or it could potentially ruin the game. A non-functioning sound engine or a poorly functioning sound engine after a poorly planned patch might be worse than no optimization or no weapons or any of the other things. They can't really change that without really understanding how it could affect the game for a lot of people. So the fourth thing is the VW bus / van. They gave us a model. So the VW bus / van will be coming. Most likely, I think that's probably the thing we would see. We haven't seen any hints at a new weapon, but we can never really know until the patch comes out. So now the second part of this, as far as new content is concerned, is cosmetics. Now, cosmetics has been a point of contention, especially since a lot of people see cosmetic items as this thing that takes away from development from the rest of the stuff that we've been asking for. Now, paid crates, nobody likes them except for apparently everybody, because even PlayerUnknowns said it was going to be a test. That test was hugely successful. The market is super vibrant, and even with a limited amount of stuff that's available, you can see the demand. The bandana is 1,200 Canadian dollars right now. The trench coat, all these rare items. This market is just dying to take off, and all they need is more stuff. So with IEM Oakland on the way, I would expect that there are more cosmetic rewards in the near future. So if we don't see paid crates, we will probably see new cosmetic items, which is great. I like spending my points on stuff that makes my character look different. Variety is really, really nice. I wouldn't mind if the crates are paid. I don't really care because it's just the way it's going. So I was just talking about servers a little while ago. Those Amazon hosting costs are probably astronomical, but they need post-sale revenue to continue to pay those bills until they can figure it out. So I would really expect to see a paid crate or some other revenue source that will help them kind of alleviate the cost that they're likely paying to Amazon for web hosting right now, or for server hosting right now. So the first most anticipated change, this one's easy, is vaulting, okay? So vaulting, today we saw a PC Gamer article come out where this individual had an opportunity to play around in the new map and to run around using the vaulting system. So this is the most anticipated change, basically bar none. So there's a couple of aspects of this I just want to kind of reiterate that maybe I didn't cover in the last patch notes kind of video, but vaulting will fundamentally change the flow and the speed of the game. So this is kind of a double-edged sword. The game has been out for a really long time. We've all learned to deal with the ins and outs of kind of trying to navigate, fences and windows and all the other aspects of the map. And, some players, including myself, still get hung up on the way that navigating the map is kind of difficult and unnecessarily so. So we would all need to basically relearn the movement phase or the movement portion of the game, which is a big deal. Adding that is a big deal. It's definitely a welcome change, and it definitely sounds like a good idea, but we don't know how it's going to change the speed and the flow of the game. You can kind of gauge how fast players can move right now in cities, and maybe this change, the shakeup, is a good thing. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that this is something that doesn't need to happen or shouldn't happen, But you have to realize that the ramifications of what this will be like when the game actually has vaulting inside of it. So there's two schools of thought. The one is that if it makes it into this patch, it will be because they want to showcase it in Oakland, and that vaulting needs a significant amount of time to test. I don't know if they're still on track for a end of 2017 exit from early access, but they're either gonna put it in to showcase it, or they're gonna wait because of Oakland. Now, it's kind of sucky to think that they would hold this away from the major player base because of a competition. So realistically, thinking logically, either they won't put it in because changing the game in a drastic way right before a major tournament might frustrate the pro level players, which will piss everybody off. Don't get me wrong. Everyone would be super mad if it came out that they weren't going to put vaulting in before Oakland because they didn't want to change it. So as to, avoid pissing off like 0.01% of the player base. But it is something to consider. And on the other side of that, they could also just play with a custom build of the game for the tournament, which wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility. Just play with an older build specifically for that tournament, because they've done that in the past. They did that with the last Gamescom tournament, with specific stuff turned off and different changes to the game. So those two things are kind of the most likely realities. And the last thing with vaulting is that the current map almost might be too complex to make sure that climbing and vaulting functions exactly right in every spot. Now, hear me out. So my kind of, not conspiracy theory, but the way I look at it is that the best of both worlds would be to have a two-stage deployment for vaulting. And when I say that, I mean that, getting over obstacles like low fences and little walls and stuff is one thing. And, getting out of windows, because, crouch jumping is a little bit harder now, especially if you're me. I can't seem to do it properly anymore. So getting in and out of windows and other obstacles like that is one thing. But climbing, that is something that I think is almost too intense to fully integrate into the current map as it stands. I don't think that vaulting was in mind when they put the current map together. Maybe it was. I have no idea. But the amount of effort to pass through the whole map and make it ready for climbing is a pretty big undertaking. And if they want to get the system tested, they might just have to put it out as only vaulting, which would actually be pretty good. I mean, vaulting between climbing and vaulting is probably the most important aspect, just from a ability to move around in a non-frustrating manner. If climbing didn't come into the game, I think that would probably be the best, at least for now. I'm not saying that it shouldn't come in later, but considering the map and the shock it would cause to the player base, I think that vaulting coming in first, just as a proof of concept, would probably be my preference. So yeah, that's kind of it. I just wanted to go over these changes, kind of present you my thoughts. I know I kind of went a little bit long, but if you liked the video or you have some ideas about what you'd like to see in this patch, head down to the comment section and leave a comment and let me know what you think. Of course, if you liked the video, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel for more content like this in the future. I've got a lot of content coming out. I hope that you guys are ready. And of course, if you want to see how this content is made, come watch me on Twitch at twitch.tv/wtfmoses, where I collect all my footage for these videos. And follow me on Twitter at wtfmoses as well. So exciting times coming right around the corner. Again, thank you for watching. And until next time, I'll see you out there.